Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? All right. So, here's what we're doing. We are going to be doing a live stream and discussion at the same time. So, what you need to do is you need to get ready to discuss. I'm going to be bringing up the articles. As you can see, I already have one of the articles brought up um, behind me. It is the Chinese Revolution of 1911. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to ask people's opinion in the chat. I'm going to ask for people to respond to me on Teams. And we're just going to see how this goes. Everyone understand? Say yes in the chat if you understand what I'm talking about. Hello, everyone. And remember, use the chat responsibly. Um, this is going to be a discussion. We're going to be discussing the various articles that I had assigned for this week for both 6th and 7th grade. So, if you have your notes or if you want to go back to the forum and look at your answers, you're welcome to do so. We're going to be starting with this is the discussion about the articles. So, yeah, we're going to be starting here with the Chinese Revolution of 1911. And we're going to be sort of discussing whether we think this is important or not. So, let us start with something easy. No spamming in the chat, please. Just respond one time. Is the Chinese Revolution of 1911 important? All right. Feel free to respond either on YouTube or on Teams. I can get it in both places. So, let's decide. Is the Chinese Revolution of 1911 important? So I've got seen two ways, yes. In a way, partially. Okay, okay, nice. So we're getting a bunch of approval so far. Nice, nice. All right, all right. We're seeing a lot of people saying yes. So let's talk about why then. Why then is it important? I'll tell you my answer in a minute, but let's see what you guys have to say. Why? Why then do you think it's important? Let's see. It impacted history. In what way, Sebastian? Yes, it did impact history, and I expect my 7th graders to have a better answer for this. Because, you know, we went over Chinese history a lot. So then, it affected a specific part of the world. Okay, we're getting closer to the idea. It changed that part of the world. See, how did it affect that part of the world? I like it, Andre. It had an effect on the history of China. In fact, I'd argue it changed China forever. Hmm. The Chinese emperor came into an end. I see that from Angel in the Teams chat. Yes, the Chinese emperor also was gone. So, now let me, unless anyone else has anything else they want to add, I'm going to sort of explain now. Sorry, Aranelli. It says Andrea. Um, Fair enough. Sorry, Aranelli. All right. Let's take a look at this event here. The Chinese Revolution of 1911 changes China forever. It gets rid of the old emperorship in China. And yeah, got rid of the imperial system, Ian. Um, and improves China in some ways and also sends China back in others. But the key thing is that it modernizes China. It changes China permanently. China used to be what was considered a back country. Many of the nations of the world didn't take it seriously. And it's after, especially the Western powers, as it says here, after this revolution, China begins to improve itself and make itself a power on the stage once again. So, and that's why it's important. It changes China's history forever and allows them to become part of the modern world. Especially as because China is such a huge country with so many people. With all of these people, China is able to grow quickly and impact history to this modern day. We see China's impact throughout the world today. And that's why it's important. Now let's take a look here at this one. The Titanic sinks. Is this event important? The Titanic sinks on April 15th, 1912. It happens a year after the Chinese Revolution. Yes or no? Let's see what you guys say. Okay, I see one that says yes it is. Come on, there are only 14 of you, but hey, I'll take whoever I can get. Yes, I see another yes from Shalom. I see no from Sebastian. Not really. No. Yes. Change the way people sailed from Angel. Yes. Interesting. I see a few why no. So let's say why or why not then? If this one isn't as important, why is it? If it's important, why is it? And if it's not important, why is it not? Go on and tell me. Tell me in the chat. Ian thinks it's boring. Thank you, Ian. But why? Hello, hello. So what point of view are you talking about, Shalom, then? Aronelli, that is an excellent point, Aronelli. Sorry, I'm just looking through all of the chats. Alright. So we're seeing a lot of people that are saying it's kind of important. Then why is it kind of important? Why only kind of then? Ian, that is perfectly understandable. Because, I mean, this event is over 108 years old at this point. And in fact, we're approaching the 108th anniversary of it. That is excellent. Sebastian and Ducklord, you guys have both excellent points. Not really because it was a bad ship, but people died. The rich had fun and the poor had no life. This ship did not discriminate really between who was killing, and you say that only had really affected the people that died. And true, that is true in some ways. And you're also right, Juliana. It didn't really affect the future either in other ways. Alright now, but let me explain why it's included on this list. Now let me explain a little why I put it on this list. The Titanic sinking is important for a few reasons. One, it was one of the largest and most luxurious ocean liners ever built. That's key. It was said and was considered unsinkable. And three, the third and final reason, is that the Titanic changed sailing forever. The Titanic changed sailing forever because after this event, cruise ships and boats in general were required to have both enough life vests and life rafts for everyone. That's the major key here, is that after this event, ships were required by law to carry enough saving devices for everyone on the ship, passengers and crew. Before then, you didn't have to carry that. This event is important because it improves the safety of travel on the oceans forever. So, and that's why I consider it kind of important, is that it changes this event and makes it important because it changes something in the future. Let's move on to the next one. This one is the next event. Is this event important? Yes or no? Is this important? Yes or no? Yes, you're right, Ian. This does start World War I. What else? Anyone else saying that this is yes important? Come on, there are 13 of you here. Good. Angel, yes. Sebastian, yes. Very important. Juliana, yes. Very important. Yeah, I mean, talk about one death changing the course of history. I mean, seriously. One single death changes history forever. I mean, if this man is not killed on this day, history would be entirely different. I mean, his death starts World War I. And the interesting thing about his death is that he survived the first time they tried to kill him. They tried to blow up his car, and they blew up the car in front of him instead. So this guy, who's a good person, uh, went to the hospital to visit the soldiers who were injured. And when they were leaving, they just so happened to get stuck in a traffic jam with the killer in front of the car. And the killer just took out his pistol and just shot them. Sorry, I've got a lot of people messaging for this. Um, if he had died on a different day, Josh, well, it depends. Probably not. Because if he had died on a different day, he wouldn't have been in that city. It was the time and location that were key to this. And yes, his wife was also killed. But his wife, while sad that she dies as well, is not the catalyst for World War One. It's his death that's the catalyst. If he had not been shot and she just would have been shot, World War One probably doesn't happen. It's both deaths, particularly his death, that is the key point. Because he was the person that was going to become king next, not her. So while he and his wife were both killed, it was more important that he died. Yes, I know, I'm sorry. Always seems to be the men in history. So, let's move on to the next event. The next event, Russian Revolution. Is it important? Let's see what everyone says. Yeah, I see a couple yeses. Yes, yes. I see yeses. It's important. Good, good. Let's see. Anyone else saying anything? Yes. Very nice. So a lot of you are saying yes. Unlike the answer with World War One, with the death of Franz Ferdinand, which is very obvious, it starts World War One. Why is this one important? This one's a little bit more subtle. Why was it important then? I'll wait to see what you guys are saying, and then I'll repeat those answers out loud here for everyone to hear. They did kidnap someone. They did. Who did they kidnap? It changed Russia. Yes. They kidnapped a Russian man. Who in particular did they kidnap? Come on. The Russian leader? You guys are so close. Who was the Russian leader? Where are you guys getting Cooper from? We are going to be looking at this guy right here. It's this man right here. Nicholas II. This event is important because it changes Russia as well. It changes Russia from from an empire into a communist dictatorship. This is important because the USSR, which comes from Russia, will be essential in World War II. Without the Russian Revolution, it's very doubtful Russia can win World War II, let alone World War I. The Russian Revolution is important because it creates the USSR, the Soviet Union, which leads to Stalin, which was needed during World War II. Exactly. Joshua's answer in the chat is very important. Joshua is exactly right. It caused the rise of communism in the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union played a huge role in history because they went to war with the US in the Cold War. They were also involved in World War II in defeating the Nazis. Without the Russian Revolution, there is no USSR. Nazi Germany does not lose World War II, and America has a much harder time taking back Europe. And while the creation of the Soviet Union wasn't a good thing, because Stalin was a bad guy, yes, as Ian says, it is necessary in human history. Well, it wasn't necessary. It had a huge impact on human history because they changed so much. And without the Soviet Union, the world would have been immensely different. Hugely different. Let us go on to the last three events. How about this? The Spanish flu. Is it important? Yes or no? Let's see what everyone has to say. I'm seeing a bunch of yeses. Nicely done. Yes, yes. 8 out of 10. More than half a billion people infected. Yes. Killing 20 to 50 million people. Yeah. I mean, the answer is obvious here. This event is huge. It infects 500 million and kills between 20 and 50 million. It kills more people than World War I, which took place just before it. It kills more people than World War I. And that is huge. It starts in 1918 and doesn't end until 1920. It infects 1/3 of the world's population, including some 675,000 Americans. And while nothing major changes because of it, nothing really changes in the future because of the Spanish flu. It's just all of its impact it had at one point that makes it important. It doesn't change really anything in the future. It doesn't really change anything in the past. It doesn't really change even the present all that much. It just has a huge impact on the present. It changed how people lived, but it doesn't really affect any other events that we're going to talk about in the future. So, and that's why it's really important, the Spanish flu, because of just how devastating it is all at once. And we come to the last 2 points. We come Armistice Day and the Treaty of Versailles. Are they important? Give it a second on the stream to pull up. So, let us, come on, computer. Let's do a window capture. Sorry, there's some tech difficulties. Alright, I mean, the Treaty of Versailles, I mean, it ends World War I. And Armistice Day? I mean, these events end World War One. And that's all you really need to know. There we go. The Treaty of Versailles and Armistice Day ending World War One create the conditions for World War Two. Without these two events, the Treaty of Versailles and Armistice Day and world ending World War One, World War Two can't happen. Without these two events, World War Two cannot happen. Let me explain why. We'll start here with the Armistice Day. The Armistice Day ends the fighting during World War One. Not creates peace. It does not create peace. It just stops the fighting. And Germany, faced with invasion, signed an armistice agreement with the Allies. Basically, they thought that they were going to get off easy because they had fought the Allies to basically a standstill. What ends up happening, instead of these armistice, they get the Treaty of Versailles. And the Treaty of Versailles, surprisingly, is very harsh. However, it is not as harsh as any other treaty that existed at the time. Germany is very bitter for having to sign this treaty. They were forced to claim responsibility for starting the war, impose harsh penalties in terms of loss of territory. They had to pay money, and they were forced to demilitarize. Yes, Ian, Germany did start World War II. I am not going to agree with that they started World War One. Oh, they made World War One worse, without a doubt. But I'm going to disagree with you on them starting World War One. Yes, and Josh, Japan also went to the Treaty of Versailles, and they were expecting to be given equal treatment, which they weren't at the treaty. So that made them angry, which they will help start World War II. And Italy was promised land for fighting in World War One, and they didn't get the land in the Treaty of Versailles, so they got mad, and they will help start World War II as well. Yes, in Ian, they did lose World War One, the Germans. They also didn't cause it directly. The Germans were not given an air force. They were prevented from owning any tanks. They weren't allowed to have an army over 100,000. They were forced to pay debt that would exist for decades. They lost 10% of their territory. I mean, this treaty was harsh to them. And if we look down here at the criticism, they just people were critical of it right away. I mean, all of these key events are what will lead to World War II. These two events, the armistice and the Treaty of Versailles. Without these two events, World War II would not happen. And we'll talk more about him. Uh, we'll talk more about World War II when we get to the 40s. How long did World War I and World War II last together? Well, World War I lasted from 1914 and ends in 1918, while World War II technically starts in 39 and ends in 41. But in reality, there are people out there that consider these just one world war. I am one of those people. I consider these just one world war with a brief period of peace in the middle. Not even 10 years of peace. 15. Maybe 10, 15 years of peace. Um, Molly, will there be a World War III? I don't want to talk about that right now. Not today. Not in this video. That's not what this video is for. Good question, Angel from Teams. How many people died in World War I and World War II? Between the two wars, I think it's approximately 100 million. And World War II ends in 45. Yeah, I might have said something. I might have said 41, not 45. Whoops, sorry, my mistake. World War II ends in 1945, not 1941. So, that's going to be all for this video. We've discussed all of the major events. This week's major events. Well, let me pull them up for you. I already have them ready. There are 4 of them. 4 major events that we're going to be looking at this time. Let me edit that. So, here are the 4 events. We'll be looking at penicillin, the invention of penicillin. We will be looking at the March on Rome. We will be looking at the stock market crash of 1929. And we'll be looking at the League of Nations. Those are the 4 major events that will be taking place this week for this decade, the 1920s. So there will only be 4 articles for 7th grade and 6th grade for you guys to read and answer questions on. You'll get these emailed to you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thank you all for coming out. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming here and discussing in the chat and sending your messages on Teams. But I think I'm going to end the stream now. Yes, the start of the Great Depression will be this week and next week. So, you all have a great evening. I will talk to you all next week. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.